There's a character in young Sheldon that the show wants you to laugh at. The bratty sister, the troublemaker, the one who can't do math. And for years, most of us bought it. But what if I told you that Missy Cooper isn't just the funniest character in the show, she's actually the most destroyed? And it's not even close. Welcome back, Mr. Blessed here, and I need to talk about this because once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. There's a real psychological phenomenon clinically recognized, studied, documented called glass child syndrome. And Missy Cooper is basically the textbook example. Like, if a psychology professor needed a case study, they could just point at this show and say, that, right there, that's it. And here's what messed me up the most. Everything about adult Missy the dead-end job, the failed marriage, the sarcasm that cuts like a knife, none of it is random. None of it is bad writing. It's all connected to what happened to her as a kid. Every single piece, and by the end of this, you're gonna look at the entire Cooper family differently. I promise you that. So let me start with something that doesn't get talked about enough. You know how everyone focuses on Sheldon being a genius and Georgie being the screw-up? There's this thing that happens in families where one kid needs a massive amount of attention, whether it's because of a disability, a chronic illness, or in Sheldon's case, being a socially clueless prodigy with what the show pretty clearly codes as autism spectrum traits. The germophobia, the rigid routines, the inability to read sarcasm, the sensory overloads, the meltdowns. All of that requires constant management, constant energy, constant everything. And the term psychologists use for the healthy sibling in that situation? The glass child. Not because the kid is fragile, actually, that's a common misconception. It's because the parents look right through them, like they're made of glass, they're invisible. The parents' eyes are locked on the special kid, and the normal one just fades into the background. Psychologists say these kids develop this intense self-silencing behavior. They stop asking for things. They stop expressing needs. Because they've learned sometimes before they can even put it into words that their feelings don't have weight in this house. Their problems don't qualify. Their pain isn't urgent enough. And the really twisted part? These kids often grow up looking incredibly resilient, independent, self-sufficient, because they had no other choice. But underneath that armor, anxiety, depression, inability to form stable relationships, academic failure not from lack of intelligence, but from the simple fact that nobody sat with them during homework, nobody asked about their grades, nobody cared enough to push them. All of that was reserved for the special sibling. Now here's where it gets heavy with Missy. Because she doesn't just fade, she screams, she acts out, she steals a truck. And nobody stops to ask why. But before I get into the full timeline of how this family systematically failed this girl, I need to tell you about the moment that broke me. Season 2, Episode 5. The Twin Study. Some researchers at the university bring Sheldon and Missy in for cognitive testing. The family gets paid $300 a week for it, which is actually why George agrees, not because he's interested in understanding his kids better, but because they need the money. And that detail alone tells you something. So yeah, Sheldon crushes every logic puzzle, every math problem, every analytical test, no surprise there. He's operating like a supercomputer, but then they test emotional intelligence, social perception, empathy, and Sheldon completely tanks. He can't read facial expressions. He doesn't understand sarcasm. He has zero patience for anything that doesn't involve equations. Missy, she doesn't just pass the social tests, she starts analyzing the psychologists themselves. She notices that one of the male researchers has a crush on his female colleague. She points out that he stares at her when she turns around. She literally gives the woman dating advice. She tells her what she should change about her appearance to get his attention. She's 9 years old. While the psychologists were testing Missy, she was testing them, and she figured them out faster than they figured her out. But here's the part that made my stomach drop. The psychologist asks Missy how she got so good at reading people. And she says something like, I guess when you spend a lot of time alone, you start noticing things other people miss. Let that sit for a second. A 9-year-old just told a trained psychologist that her superpower comes from loneliness, that her ability to read people didn't come from some gift, it came from having nothing else to do. From sitting in a house where everyone is orbiting someone else and she's just observing, learning, because observation was all she had. Then the psychologist asks about her family. Who's on her team? And Missy lays it out with this terrifying clarity that no kid her age should have. Mom, Grandma, and Sheldon, that's one team. They orbit each other. Mary protects Sheldon, Grandma supports Mary, and the three of them form this tight unit where Sheldon's comfort is the center of gravity. Dad and Georgie, that's another team, bonded over football and traditional masculinity and the kind of father-son stuff that Sheldon will never participate in. And then the researcher asks, "Who's on your team?" And she says, "Nobody, just me, a 9-year-old, sitting in a university research lab, telling a stranger that she is completely, fundamentally alone in her own family." And here's the thing that makes it even worse. Her parents were watching on a monitor. They heard every word. They saw the clarity in her eyes when she said it. And they did absolutely nothing about it. Nothing changed. Not one thing. Not the next day. Not the next week. Not the next season. That moment right there, that's when Missy learned that speaking your truth doesn't work. The world heard her, and the world shrugged. Why bother being honest if honesty just bounces off the walls? Honestly, my brain short-circuited when I rewatched that scene knowing everything that happens later. Because that line, "Nobody, just me," it's not just a sad moment in a sitcom, it's the blueprint. It's the foundation. Everything that goes wrong for Missy after that point traces back to this exact feeling. The rebellions, the running away, the bad relationships, the dead-end career, all of it grows out of this one seed. I am alone and nobody is coming. But okay, that part is rough enough on its own. But the thing that really made me lose it, it's how the show handles the difference between Sheldon's brain and Missy's brain. Because this is where the real injustice lives. And honestly, I don't think most people catch it. Sheldon has an eidetic memory. He solves graduate-level physics problems as a kid. He gets into college at 11. Those are flashy skills. You can measure them. You can put them on a report card. You can show them to the neighbors. You can brag about them at church. There's a number attached to them, an IQ score, a grade, a scholarship amount. Society loves that stuff. Missy's skills? Reading a room in 2 seconds flat. Knowing when someone is lying before they finish the sentence. Making friends with literally anyone. Understanding hidden motivations that adults don't even see. Smoothing over conflicts that nobody else can touch. She even acts as Sheldon's social translator, breaking down human behavior for him using examples from Beverly Hills 90,000, 210 because that's the only language he can process. Those skills are invisible. You can't grade them. There's no standardized test for she noticed the researcher was checking out his colleague. There's no trophy for she figured out her parents were heading for divorce before either of them admitted it. And in a family where Mary Cooper has built her entire identity around raising a genius son, and in a Texas education system from the 1990s that only values what you can put on paper, Missy's kind of intelligence doesn't count. It doesn't count at all. And the labels start early. Mary literally calls Missy dumb as soup when talking to Leonard and the other scientists in The Big Bang Theory. Her own mother, describing her own daughter to strangers, while bragging about Sheldon in the same breath. Georgie calls her a dumb teenager when describing the period after their dad died. The family consensus is clear. Missy is not smart. Missy is the fun one, the pretty one, the athletic one, but not the smart one. And here's the thing that makes this a psychological tragedy and not just a sitcom subplot. Missy believed it. She internalized that label completely. She stopped trying in school. In The Big Bang Theory, it's mentioned that it took her 6 years to finish high school. 6 years. Not because she's stupid, we've established she's anything but because when your own family tells you that you're the dumb one, eventually you start acting like it. Psychologists call this the Pygmalion effect, a self-fulfilling prophecy. The family told Missy she was nothing special, and she became nothing special, at least on paper. Meanwhile, that cotton candy business she ran at school in season 5, the one where she took $100 from Grandma Connie and turned it into a profit machine by selling to classmates, that showed real business instincts, real strategic thinking. Nobody noticed. Nobody said, hey, maybe this kid has a future in business. Because in the Cooper house, if it isn't physics, it isn't worth discussing. That part is insane. But if you don't understand the role Mary Cooper plays in all of this, none of it matters. Because she's the architect. So the fan community on Reddit, the r/Young Sheldon subreddit, specifically has had thousands of comments about this. Literal thousands. And the consensus is pretty overwhelming. The person who did the most damage to Missy wasn't Sheldon. It wasn't Georgie. It wasn't even the absent father. It was Mary. And I know that sounds harsh because the show frames Mary as this devoted, sacrificial Christian mother carrying the weight of an unusual family on her shoulders. But when you actually look at what she does to Missy versus what she lets her sons get away with, it's not even comparable. It's two completely different justice systems operating under the same roof. Let me run through it. Georgie gets a girl pregnant at 17. Outside of marriage, for a deeply religious Southern Baptist woman like Mary, that should be the highest possible betrayal of her values, right? But Georgie gets surprisingly soft consequences. She's upset, sure, but she adjusts, she forgives, she helps. Sheldon is openly narcissistic, rude to every person he meets, dismisses people's intelligence to their faces, refuses basic social courtesy, treats his mother's faith with condescension, and Mary excuses every single bit of it. He's special. He doesn't understand social cues. That's just Sheldon being Sheldon. She tells him he's special every single day. She reinforces his sense of total entitlement. But Missy uses a swear word and it's a national emergency. Missy talks back and she's grounded for a week. Missy shows normal teenage attitude and suddenly it's a crisis of biblical proportions. She's the only child in the house held to an impossibly high standard of behavior that neither of her brothers ever has to meet. And the reason is obvious when you think about it. Mary can't control Sheldon. He's too smart for her. She can't control Georgie. He's too rebellious. Missy is the only kid she can still dominate, so she squeezes harder. There's this scene that the Reddit community voted as one of the most infuriating in the entire series, Season 4. Missy is in her room, crying. First heartbreak. A boy named Marcus was holding hands with another girl, and Missy is devastated. She threw an apple at him out of sheer helplessness, not great, but she's 11. She comes home with a shattered heart, and the only thing she asks is, "Leave me alone. Let me have my room. Let me feel this." Dad gets it. He tells Sheldon to stay away from his sister. But Sheldon barges in anyway. Because boundaries don't exist in Sheldon's operating system. He starts pestering her with completely tone-deaf questions while she's sobbing on her bed. And in a moment of pure desperation, cornered, unable to get even physical space in her own home, she rips his signed photo of Professor Proton off the wall. Mary walks in, sees crying Sheldon, sees the torn photo, does not ask Missy a single question, does not ask why her daughter has been crying for hours, does not attempt to understand what happened before the photo got ripped. She immediately takes Sheldon's side and punishes Missy, grounds her, no discussion. Missy screams, "You're always on his side." Mary denies it, but we saw it. Everyone saw it. A torn piece of paper was more important than her daughter's first broken heart. And Missy learns the lesson permanently. Expressing your real feelings doesn't get you comfort. It gets you punished. So she stops sharing. She shuts the door. And she doesn't open it for Mary again. And here's a detail that makes it even worse. When Missy's feelings about Marcus get brought up by Grandma Connie, who does try to help, Connie says something like, "You're only 11, you'll have other boys." And Missy fires back with one of the most devastating lines in the show. "So my feelings don't matter." Nobody in this family can just sit with her pain. Nobody can say, "Yeah, this hurts and that's okay." They all try to fix it, minimize it, or punish it. And eventually, Missy stops bringing her pain to anyone. Why would she? The last time she cried in front of someone, she got grounded. Now. Season 6. This is where the show stops being a comedy entirely and becomes something closer to a psychological case study wearing a laugh track as a disguise. Everything is collapsing simultaneously. Mary got expelled from her church because of the Georgie scandal. Mary and George are falling apart. She's emotionally drawn to a young pastor named Rob. George is spending suspicious amounts of time with the neighbor Brenda Sparks. Georgie and Mandy are about to have a baby. The house is chaos. And in the middle of all that noise, Missy vanishes. Not physically, she's still there, walking around, eating at the same table. But nobody is looking at her. Nobody is thinking about her. She is furniture. Episode 15, Season 6. This is the one. George forgets to pick Missy up from school. Just forgets. She's standing there waiting, and nobody comes. For a kid whose core wound is, "I don't exist to my family," being literally forgotten at school is not a scheduling error. It's confirmation. It's physical proof that she doesn't occupy space in their minds. While she waits, she's stuck with the neighbor kid, Billy Sparks, and she wonders out loud if her dad is cheating with Billy's mom. That's where her head goes. 13 years old, standing outside her school, abandoned, already suspecting her family is falling apart. Same day, nobody takes her to the hospital when her niece, Cece, is born. The family rushes off in excitement and forgets to include her. She's not part of the celebration. She's not part of anything. She goes to school the next day already raw, already cracking, and snaps at her teacher, gets sent home. And when she walks through that front door, when she sees her parents sitting there comforting Sheldon because his grant database project failed, something inside her detonates. She finally drops every defense mechanism she's ever built. No sarcasm, no jokes, no armor. And she says, Sheldon says horrible things all the time, but that's fine because he's special. This isn't about Sheldon for once. You forgot to pick me up one time? Save the drama. You've been forgetting about me my entire life. Everything revolves around Sheldon. Georgie's having a baby and you two are constantly fighting. I might as well be invisible. 13 years of accumulated pain compressed into one sentence. And what does Mary do? Not today. Go to your room. And you're going to apologize to Mrs. Wilkins. Her daughter just ripped herself open in front of her, laid out 13 years of invisible suffering in the clearest words she'll ever find. And Mary chose discipline over compassion, because actually hearing Missy would mean admitting her own failure. And Mary Cooper cannot do that, will not do that. That night, Missy steals her dad's pickup truck and runs away with her friend Paige. And here's the thing that still haunts me. Mary and George didn't notice their daughter was gone. They noticed the truck was missing. The vehicle vanished from the driveway before the child vanished from their awareness. George genuinely thought Missy was just giving him the silent treatment. He didn't check her room, didn't look in on her after the biggest emotional outburst of her life, just assumed she was being dramatic. If she'd left on foot, how long would it have taken? A day? 2? Some fans push back hard on this. She stole a car. That's a crime, not a cry for help. But here's what psychologists who study family systems will tell you. When a child can't get attention by being good, when compliance and silence and helping around the house are all met with the same indifference, the psyche flips the strategy. Negative attention becomes better than no attention at all. If the only way to make your mother look away from Sheldon is to do something so extreme that she physically cannot ignore it, the glass child will shatter the glass. One fan on Reddit absolutely destroyed the counter-argument. I'm paraphrasing. You cannot spend 12 seasons forgiving Sheldon for being insufferable because of his neurodivergence, and then crucify a 14-year-old girl for acting out after years of emotional starvation. You don't get to have it both ways. Now, the show gives us one single moment where it feels like maybe, just maybe, things will be okay. And I swear it's one of the best pieces of television this show ever produced. Season 6 finale. A tornado tears through Texas. Missy and George are driving home, and the storm catches them. They bail out of the truck and throw themselves into a muddy ditch on the side of the road while the sky rips itself apart above their heads. And that's when everything Missy has built, every wall, every sarcastic comeback, every I don't care attitude crumbles. She's just a terrified little girl clinging to her father, sobbing into his jacket. And she says, I'm sorry for everything. I've been terrible. I don't even know why. I really do love you and Mom. And I don't actually hate kids. I'll be better. I promise. I don't even know why. When I first heard that line, my jaw literally hit the floor, because she genuinely doesn't understand. She doesn't have the psychological vocabulary to say, I've been emotionally neglected my entire life, and my brain is using self-destructive behavior as the only available coping mechanism. She's 14. She just knows something inside her is broken, and she thinks it's her fault. She takes the blame for a disease that was given to her by her parents. Glass children always do this. They always blame themselves, because if the problem is me, maybe I can fix it. If the problem is my family, there's no hope. George holds her, says he loves her, and for 30 seconds you think maybe this is the turning point. It's not, because George Cooper dies. Season 7, Heart Attack. The one parent who at least tried, who took her to Red Lobster because she genuinely believed it was the fanciest restaurant in Texas, who taught her to pitch baseballs, who once asked, what do you want to do? And actually waited for the answer, he's gone. Dead at the worst possible moment in her development. She's 14, mid-puberty, mid-identity crisis, and the one person who made her feel like she existed just stopped existing. After that, the family doesn't come together. It disintegrates. Mary retreats into obsessive religiosity, becoming more emotionally unavailable than ever. Sheldon escapes to Caltech in California, wrapping himself in equations to avoid feeling anything. Georgie becomes the head of the household by necessity, running the tire shop, raising baby Cece with Mandy, trying to hold financial reality together. And Missy is alone, in that big empty Cooper house, with a mother who wants to talk about baptisms when her daughter needs someone to talk about grief. Mary pushes for the kids to get baptized right after the funeral, some kind of spiritual insurance policy. Missy, overflowing with rage at a God who took her father and a mother who turns death into a recruitment opportunity for religion, refuses. She storms out of the church. Alone. Again. The show ends her story there. No resolution, no gentle landing, just a shattered teenager walking away from everything she knew. And then you watch Big Bang Theory, and you see the wreckage. She works as a hostess at Fuddruckers, a chain burger joint, the girl who ran a cotton candy empire at 12, who could read any room faster than anyone in it, who had the social intelligence to be a therapist, a negotiator, a CEO. She's greeting customers at a burger restaurant, not because she's incapable, because nobody ever said your skills matter, because the family poured every dollar, every conversation, every ounce of planning into Sheldon's college applications, Sheldon's grants, Sheldon's future. Missy's future was never a topic. It wasn't discussed, it wasn't funded, it wasn't imagined. She's going through a brutal divorce, pregnant with her second kid and visibly unhappy about it. She shows up at Sheldon's wedding to Amy and sits there watching the boy who consumed every resource in their household find his perfect match, win a Nobel Prize, live happily ever after. While she's falling apart in a folding chair, the person with no emotional intelligence found love. The person with all the emotional intelligence found nothing. And even decades later, Mary is still doing it. Still criticizing Missy, still disappointed, still treating her like a project that failed instead of a daughter she failed. The sarcasm, the razor-sharp tongue that makes Missy so funny in Big Bang Theory, every cutting remark, every perfectly timed burn, those aren't jokes. Those are calluses. Years of scar tissue built over a wound that never closed. Sarcasm became her weapon because it was the only one that worked. In a house where Sheldon dominated with his brain and Mary dominated with her Bible, sarcasm was the one way Missy could fight back without starting a war she could never win. She told us the origin story herself, 9 years old. When you're on your own a lot, you get good at saying things like that. She even weaponizes her looks in Big Bang Theory. When Leonard, Howard, and Raj completely lose their minds over how attractive she is, she handles it with total control. Because in a family that never valued her mind, her appearance became her only reliable currency. The only thing that guaranteed attention. That's not vanity, that's adaptation. But here's the part that caught me completely off guard and honestly changed how I see one character entirely. Sheldon, the black hole. The reason Missy became invisible. He's also, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, the only member of the family who consistently gives Missy genuine recognition without being asked. I know. Stay with me. He goes to her for social advice. Constantly. He legitimizes her expertise in the one area nobody else acknowledges. When she tries to run away in season 4, Sheldon germaphobe, comfort-obsessed, rule-following Sheldon follows her into the woods so she won't be alone. When she locks herself in her room, he's the one standing outside the door, knocking. When she's sad, he brings her a hot drink. For Sheldon, that's like climbing Everest emotionally. And the biggest gesture of all? He dedicates his valedictorian speech to Missy, his graduation speech, the crowning moment of his academic life, and he gives it to his sister. No parent ever did that. No teacher, no friend. The person whose mere existence caused her erasure is the only one who tried to write her back into the story. That's the cruelest irony of the entire franchise. The most validation Missy ever received didn't come from her mother, who owed her unconditional love. It came from a brother whose capacity for empathy is literally neurologically limited. She spent years being the emotional infrastructure of the Cooper family, translating the world for Sheldon, mediating fights, sensing tension before anyone else, and nobody ever returned the investment. She was the power grid, and nobody paid the electric bill. Now, the show doesn't leave it in complete darkness. Adult Sheldon, narrating from years later, married, a father, a different man, he looks back and you can hear it in his voice. Regret, recognition. He tells us that Missy eventually remarries, finds someone who actually sees her, raises 4 kids, builds the team she never had as a child. She breaks the cycle. But that redemption doesn't erase the journey. It doesn't erase dumb as soup. It doesn't erase a mother who stepped over her crying daughter to comfort a boy upset about a photograph. It doesn't erase I might as well be invisible. It doesn't erase a 9-year-old in a research lab saying, nobody, just me. Missy Cooper was never the dumb one. She was never the problem child. She was never the bratty twin sister who couldn't keep up. She was the smartest person in a family that only recognized one kind of smart, and they broke her for it, piece by piece, season by season, until there was nothing left but sarcasm and survival. That's not a sitcom character, that's a glass child. And now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it either. But I want to know what you think. Is Mary Cooper the ultimate villain of this show, or just a mother who got overwhelmed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you want more deep dives that change how you see your favorite shows, hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.